Shockwaves are ripping through the WNBA as Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull just unleashed a bombshell no one saw coming. And it's changing everything we thought we knew about the league, the players, and the future of women's basketball. Because what these two fierce warriors just did for Caitlin Clark wasn't just bold, it was historic, dangerous, and absolutely game-changing. And while the league stayed silent, they stood up, they spoke out, and they lit a fire that's now spreading like wildfire across every arena, every locker room, and every fan base in the country. Because this isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about loyalty, protection, and calling out a broken system that failed its brightest star. And it all exploded into chaos just moments ago when Cunningham and Hull sent a message so powerful the entire WNBA is scrambling to respond. So buckle up, because what you're about to see isn't just the kiss of death for the league's silence. It's the start of a revolution led by two women who refuse to let Caitlin Clark fight alone. It's the 17th of June, 2025. What was supposed to be just another WNBA showdown between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun turned into the most explosive and controversial moment of the season, because with the spotlight already burning hot on Caitlin Clark, the unthinkable happened on that court, and it happened fast. J.C. Sheldon, out of nowhere, lunged at Clark and drove her hand straight into Clark's eye. Not a swipe, not an accident, but a deliberate, targeted strike that sent the league's biggest star staggering in pain, while fans sat frozen, jaws dropped. And if that wasn't shocking enough, just seconds later, Marina Mabrey came charging in like a linebacker on a mission, slamming Clark to the hardwood with enough force to make the entire stadium go silent in disbelief. And yet, instead of justice, instead of protection, the referees turned around and hit Clark with a technical foul, punishing the victim, letting her attackers off easy. And that's when everything changed, because that was the final straw for Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham had seen enough, felt enough, and had finally snapped. Because this wasn't just a dirty play, it was a public execution of the league's brightest talent. And if the referees weren't going to do their jobs, Sophie was going to do it for them. And with just 46 seconds left in the game, she made her move. No hesitation, no apology. J.C. Sheldon drove to the rim, and Sophie wrapped her up midair, sending her crashing to the floor in a hard, unmistakable message. Because this wasn't about revenge, this was about sending a warning to every player, every coach, and every official in the WNBA. If you come for Caitlin Clark, you're going through Sophie Cunningham first. And sure, she got ejected, but she didn't care. Because in that moment, she wasn't just defending a teammate, she was defending the soul of the game. And her statement didn't come with a microphone, it came with impact, pain, and the kind of leadership that doesn't show up on stat sheets but changes the course of seasons. After the game, Sophie didn't walk away quietly. She stood in front of the cameras with fire in her eyes, her voice sharp and unshaken, and dropped a truth bomb so raw it rattled the entire foundation of the WNBA, saying flat out, "I think the refs had a lot to do with that." But she didn't stop there, because Sophie made it clear this wasn't a one-time thing. This was years in the making. Years of star players like Caitlin being targeted, hit, shoved, and ignored while the league looked the other way. And Sophie wasn't just frustrated, she was exposing the truth everyone else was too scared to say, calling it what it really was: a systemic failure to protect the very players driving ticket sales, viewership, and fan passion. And then came the line that turned a soundbite into a war cry. At the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And just like that, Sophie Cunningham wasn't just a player anymore. She became a symbol, a protector, a spark that lit a fire under fans and players across the league who had been waiting for someone to say what needed to be said. But Sophie wasn't alone in this battle. Standing shoulder to shoulder with her was Lexie Hull, Caitlin Clark's closest friend, and one of the most underrated sharpshooters in the league. Because while Sophie brought the fire, Lexie brought the steel, calm and deadly with every shot. And together, the three of them, Clark, Sophie, and Lexie, have become something bigger than teammates. They've become a movement, a sisterhood fans now call Tres Leches, a name that started as a nickname but has transformed into a brand, a symbol of unity and defiance in a league desperate for leadership. And if you needed proof that this bond is deeper than basketball, just look at Sophie walking into a game wearing a custom tee with all three of their faces on it, Tres Leches stamped across the chest like a battle flag, because this isn't just chemistry, this is family. This is three women who are done asking for respect and are now taking it by force. And while the league kept failing to protect its stars, these three created a shield of loyalty, of courage, of pure electricity that has every fan watching and every rival trembling. The numbers don't lie, and when you see them, you'll realize this isn't just aggressive defense. This is calculated assault, because Caitlin Clark has been on the receiving end of a jaw-dropping 17% of all flagrant fouls in the entire WNBA. And if that isn't alarming enough, here's the real kicker. 80% of those hits are coming from just one team, the Chicago Sky, which means we're not looking at coincidence anymore. We're looking at a targeted campaign against the league's biggest star. And fans aren't stupid. They're seeing it, they're posting it, they're furious about it. Because when one player takes nearly 1/5 of the league's dirtiest fouls, it's not just suspicious, it's proof that something's broken. And that proof lit social media on fire, with clips going viral, hashtags like #ProtectCaitlin trending again and again, and fans flooding comment sections demanding justice, because this isn't just about a few hard fouls, it's about the league allowing their biggest draw, the reason for sold-out arenas and record-breaking television ratings, to be punished for her greatness, while the enforcers walk away grinning. Sophie Cunningham didn't just make a statement on the court, she lit up the entire internet. Because before the ejection, she had a solid fan base of about 200,000 followers. But after that moment, after she stood up for Caitlin Clark in front of millions, her numbers exploded. 1 million followers in just a matter of days. Her jersey sales quadrupled, highlight edits flooded TikTok, and fans crowned her the fearless enforcer women's basketball never knew it needed. And suddenly, she wasn't just a player, she was a protector, a warrior, a walking symbol of justice on hardwood. And what makes it even more insane is this Sophie's been a fighter since day one. Because most people don't know she earned a black belt in Taekwondo at just 6 years old, or that she was the first female to score points for her high school football team as a kicker, making history with every snap. And now, that same fire that made her unstoppable as a kid is fueling a movement that's taking over the WNBA, because Sophie isn't just defending Clark, she's defending a legacy, and fans are lining up behind her in droves. While Sophie was delivering knockout blows and leading the charge with unfiltered fire, Lexie Hull was making her impact in silence, letting her game speak with laser focus and deadly precision. Because when Clark was ruled out of the All-Star three-point contest due to injury, it wasn't a random choice that Lexie was tapped to step in. It was earned. And even the critics who doubted her spot were silenced when she came out shooting 47% from beyond the arc, 4th best in the entire league. And that number isn't just impressive, it's lethal, because it forces defenders to stay glued to her, which means more space for Clark to operate, more chaos for defenses, and more wins for Indiana. But her value goes far beyond the stat sheet, because off the court, she's the rock, the calm in the storm, the glue holding everything together, the best friend who's always there, always locked in, always ready to pick up the slack when the team needs her most. And whether it's celebrating Sophie's follower milestone or cheering Caitlin through another brutal game, Lexie is proving that you don't need to be loud to be legendary. Sometimes loyalty, consistency, and quiet strength can shake a league just as hard as any headline dunk. While Sophie and Lexie are laying everything on the line to protect Caitlin Clark, the rest of the world is watching and waiting, because now elite overseas leagues in Europe and Asia are circling like sharks, ready to offer Clark contracts worth millions, not just to play, but to be respected, protected, and treated like the generational superstar she is. And the offers aren't empty promises. They come with private jets, top-tier facilities, security, endorsement pipelines, and full creative control, all while the WNBA continues to sit back and allow its most valuable player to be shoved, poked, blindsided, and penalized for daring to shine. And the consequences are already showing. When Clark was injured and missed games, Television ratings plummeted, ticket prices crashed from $89 to as low as $25, and merch sales nosedived. Because Clark isn't just a player, she's the engine of the entire league, the golden goose they're choking with negligence, and if they lose her to an overseas giant, they're not just losing talent, they're losing the fans, the sponsors, the momentum, and the future. And Sophie and Lexie know it. That's why they're not just protecting a friend, they're going to war for the soul of women's basketball before the whole thing burns down. The WNBA is officially out of time. Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull have drawn their line in the sand. And they're not backing down, because this isn't just about bruises or fouls or one bad call. This is about a league that built its success on the back of Caitlin Clark and is now too scared or too stubborn to protect her when it counts. But Sophie and Lexie, they're doing what the league won't. They're standing in the fire, taking the hits, risking their careers, and fighting for something bigger than themselves. Because they know what's at stake here. The respect of fans, the safety of players, and the very future of women's professional basketball in America. And every moment they stay silent, every hit Clark takes without consequence, the clock ticks louder, the pressure rises, and the spotlight grows hotter. Because fans aren't just watching anymore, they're demanding change. They're flooding social media, they're buying jerseys, they're picking sides, and that side is clear. Protect your stars or lose them. And if the WNBA doesn't act fast, it's not just going to lose Caitlin Clark. It's going to lose the revolution she sparked. The movement Sophie and Lexie are leading, and the once-in-a-generation opportunity to elevate the league to global greatness, because the days of playing nice are over. The days of suffering in silence are gone. And if the league won't protect its queens, Sophie and Lexie will take the throne themselves and rewrite the rules from the court to the boardroom. So now the question isn't whether they're heroes or rebels. The question is, will the WNBA listen before it's too late?